Hello, everybody. Welcome. Hope everybody is doing well tonight. Just like we would do, since I won't be able to do another live stream this week on Friday night, I decided to do just to get on here real quick tonight for a little bit, and I'm gonna try to start on a regular basis, doing at least 2 live streams a week. Of course, our or welcome to everybody before I get into it. Welcome. Like I said, I hope everybody is doing okay. Welcome to everybody in chat. Welcome to everybody who's lurking. If this is your first time visiting us, thank you so much for choosing to hang out with us for a little bit tonight. And we're just going to go over some true crime that's been in the news, current true crime. Which we don't focus on a whole lot on this channel. We do a lot of cold cases. Like I started to say, our missing person Monday live streams are the main feature here on the channel. We feature mostly cold cases, a lot of cold cases. I do also upload pre-recorded videos during the week. Some cold cases, some newer cases. We also cover or also share unsolved homicides, cold case homicides, unidentified Jane Doe, John Does. But as I was going to say, and if you're watching replay, thank you so much. We love the replay crew. So if you are watching replay, please leave me a comment down below and let me know that you are replay crew. We appreciate you so very much. I've loved all the mods. Always forget to thank the mods, everyone with wrenches. But tonight, like I said, or was fixing to say, I'm tired tonight. It's only Wednesday. It's Wednesday, right? And I'm already tired. It was a busy day at work today. But anyway, I'm going to start trying to do, and for the most part, we usually do at least 2 live streams a week. Once again, the Missing Person Monday is our main featured live stream every week. And then usually every other Friday, we'll do True Crime After Dark and talk about just whatever's going on, share some missing persons, share some cold cases. anything that's currently going on in the true crime world that we want to talk about. And then sometimes we'll have fun nights where we talk about anything but true crime or other stuff with a little bit of true crime mixed in. We did one of those about 5 hours the other night, like this past Friday. We really enjoy those because sometimes, you know, we just have to take a break from true crime. And then sometimes we'll do some mysteries and conspiracies, have a mysteries and conspiracies night. But anyway, tonight there was just a couple of things, if I can talk once again, a couple of things going on currently that I wanted to just talk about a little bit. And I've got a couple of missing persons from here in Arkansas to share. So we will get into it before I babble on all night. Let's see who is here. Chris says, I'm going to be watching from the sidelines for tonight. Absolutely, I understand. Thank you so much for being here. Miss Paula is here. She says she is watching and listening. Always good to see Miss Paula. We love you too, Miss Paula. Julie's guitar is here. Hello, Julie. Good to see you, my dear. There is my friend Mustang. Always glad to see Mustang. Thank you so much. Mustang is already getting in the links. Please do check out Julie and Miss Paula. Or links are in there. Sorry, I'm trying to multitask here. So thank you so much to Mustang. She's always getting my links in for me. So tonight, oh, good Lord. Don't know what is going on. First off, we're going to share. I've got a couple of missing persons. I got even worse tonight than usual. I can't talk. A couple of missing persons that I wanted to share from here in Arkansas. Sorry, I think the allergies are up again. The pollen count has been really high here, apparently in Central Arkansas. Plus, they're starting the farmers around here. I live out on the farm for anybody new here. So now it's almost a couple of months or so. They're going to be planting the fields. So the farmers have already started getting the fields ready, plowing. So there's all the dust stirred up in the air. So my sinuses are acting up. But anyway, so I apologize for the sniffling and the coughing and the hacking as usual. But I wanted to start out. This one just came up while I was at work today. I got a notification. There's not a whole lot of information, but I will give you what has been released. So this is Kennedy Love. She is missing from Pine Bluff, Arkansas. The Pine Bluff, hold on. My computer's jumping here. So the Pine Bluff Police Department has asked for the public's help in locating a missing teen. According to reports, 16-year-old Kennedy Love was last seen on February 21st. So that's about 4 days ago. Reports show that she could possibly be with someone named Davion. Anyone with information regarding her whereabouts is urged to contact the detective office tip line at 870-730-2106. The detective office at 870-730-2090, or the dispatch center at 870-541-5300. Now, as far as this release, and I checked again just right before I went live, just to make sure, hoping that she had been located safe, or to see if any other information, because they don't even have her vitals. They don't have her height, weight. All we know right now is she's 16 years old, and we can tell from the picture that she's a black female with dark hair and dark eyes. As far as height, weight, things of that nature, that is not in anything that I have found. But if they do, well, hopefully she's found safe as soon as possible. But if not, hopefully they will release some more information. They get a missing poster, and I will post it on my community tab here on YouTube. And when and if I can ever get back on Facebook, I'll post it on Facebook. I haven't checked today to see if I've been having trouble. For some reason, the Facebook app won't come up on my phone. So I haven't been able to get on Facebook, and I can't remember can't remember my email and my password that I use to log in on the computer. So anyway, that's why for anybody that's on Facebook, that's why I haven't been posting anything on Facebook lately. I mean, Messenger still works. The Messenger app works, so you can get a hold of me there or email. But as far as being on Facebook, the app, I've uninstalled it, reinstalled it 2 or 3 times. I've updated it, and it'll come up, and it'll say, you know, app is not responding, whatever. So I don't know what I've done. I don't know if it's my phone. I don't know. But anyway. So in the meantime, if you need to get a hold of me, you can leave a comment on any of my videos or live streams here on YouTube. You can, if you have Facebook Messenger, you can message me there. You can email me. Let me find my email. Where is it at? I can't find all my banners. There it is. You can email me, southerngaltruecrime@hotmail.com. I will try to remember to start checking my email more. I'm really bad at checking my email. But anyway, right. So that is Kennedy. So like I said, hopefully she will be soon found ASAP. But if not, hopefully they will release some more information. Get a missing person poster up for her. I'll check the Morgan Nick Foundation usually does a good job of getting their posters up. But anyway, okay, so we have Kennedy, but I didn't have a slide for her because, like I said, it came up while I was at work today. And sorry, I'm trying to multitask again. And I didn't have time to go back and add her into the slideshow. But anyway. All right, let me check comments right quick, see if anybody's snuck in on me. There's, well, there he is. There's Josh the Posh. Hello, my friend. How are you doing? I hope you're doing well. It is good to see you. Yes, you know me. I'm always having tech issues, whether it be for the live streams or, like I said, I don't know what is up with my Facebook app on the phone because I'm logged into my personal account, Facebook account on my computer, and it's working fine on the computer. But like I said, I can't remember. I use a separate account for my Southern Gal account where I post all the, you know, true crime stuff, missing persons. And I think I know what email I use, but I can't remember my password. And I tried to reset it, go through on the computer and reset it yesterday, and it kept saying this page is under repair or whatever. So, anyway, this technology that's supposed to make things easier for us. Anyway, maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just me. Hey, there's Junior Johnson. Hello, sir. It is always good to see you. I hope you're doing well in Michigan, staying warm. I hope everybody's staying warm or cool or whatever you want to be. I know the East Coast, I think they're finally digging out from the latest snowmageddon. Miss Paula can let us know. She's over that way. Dave, Alan the Prowler's over that way. Anyway, thank you. Yes, Mustang put in where lavender grows. That is Josh's channel. Please do go check him out. He does magnificent work. And I think it deleted the comment because sometimes if you comment on a live stream, I think maybe 24 hours before the stream actually starts, like after 24 hours or so, it'll erase the comment. But I know that Skits, West Side Crime Show, had left a comment. She changed the name of her channel, but she just wanted us to know that she changed it, but it was still her. And she's in New Zealand. But anyway, the comment disappeared, and I cannot remember now what the new name of the channel is. So hopefully she may check in again. But it was West Side Crime West Side Crime Show, I believe. Anyway, I'll think of it. I know I'm subscribed to it. I'll have to go back and check it. Josh says, I have the same login conversation with Mama every other week about remembering passwords. I know. I'm so bad at remembering. I'm lucky that because I debated a long time before I logged out of my personal account on the computer, because I'm thinking, if I can't remember my password from my personal account, which I'm hardly ever on it anyway anymore, every once in a blue moon, I'll get on it. I'm like, I'm just going to be SOL because I won't be able to get back into my personal account. But I did remember the password from my personal account, but I cannot for the life of me. I've tried every variation of passwords that I use and nothing works. So anyway, enough of my bitching. Excuse the language. Enough of my complaining. Oh goodness, getting old is not for the old. It's not for the weak. All right, so let me get, where's my slideshow? There it is. All right, there's my slideshow. I think I had another. As far as I know, yes, Miss Paula says it is nice seeing everyone. Absolutely. As far as I know, so this is another missing from Arkansas, from North Little Rock, Tavoris Thomas. As far as I know, he is still missing. I checked once again today to see if there's any updates on his case. I did not find anything that said that he had been located, but he has been missing from North Little Rock, the Rose City area of North Little Rock since September. Hold on, I have to make this really big so I can read it on the screen. September 6th of 2025. He is 48 years old. Like I said, missing from the Rose City area. I keep wanting to say Rose Hills. Rose City area of North Little Rock, here in Arkansas. He is a black male, medium complexion, 5'8" tall, 140 pounds, with short black hair and brown eyes. It says that he was dropped off in the Meadow Park area of Rose City, which, like I said, Rose City is just a part of Little Rock, or North Little Rock. And his let me start over again. His family says that he has not been seen or heard from since then. It's very unusual behavior for him not to have any contact with them. And in an article that I read on one of the other live streams, it says that he is known to spend time in several homeless camps in the area. So if you do have any information about Mr. Thomas, you can contact the North Little Rock PD at 501-680-8439, or BAMFI, which is the Black and Missing Foundation, at 501-680-8439. So that's Mr. Thomas, and I will keep checking on his status. Hopefully he will be found soon. And then I had Mr. Isbell, Roger Isbell, had been missing. He was a gentleman that he's actually from Little Rock, but he had been went missing in Tunica. But I checked today, and there was an update. He has been located safe. Now, I did not say, and this is per the Little Rock PD, it did not say if he was found in Tunica, where he went missing out of, or back here in Arkansas. But regardless, it just said that he had been found safe, he was in a safe location. So that is good news. And I think, update this one on my community tab. Josh says, I can't remember my Google password. Yeah, I know. See, I go through, I have all my Google stuff on my phone, but I think I can remember I know the email for sure, and pretty sure I know the password. But yeah, if I ever get logged out of Google on my phone, because that's where all my pay apps and stuff are, and things that I use are on my phone, so I'm just gonna be SOL on that once again, if I ever get logged out of that. Oh, sorry, Junior said that. Sorry. See, I just saw Jay. That's all I saw. Oh, see, I told you guys I'm tired. It's only the hump day today in the middle of the week, and I'm already tired. So Junior said he can't remember his Google password in Super Chat. Yeah. You tried resetting the password, couldn't do it. I'm going to the phone store and see if they can help me. Yeah. Hopefully they can. Yeah, and I think I'm going to get a new phone pretty soon because I've just about got the one that I have now, which is I've had it for years. It's a Galaxy S10e, if that tells you anything. It's just about paid for. So I think when I get it paid off, I think I have one more payment because I just pay a little bit on every phone bill that we get, cell phone bill that we get. So I'll be eligible for an upgrade and I can get me a new phone. So I'll probably do that. But anyway, because I mean, my phone that I use is so old now, it's 4G. It's not even 5G. It's 4G. But anyway, right. So Mr. Isbell, thankfully, like I said, he has been found safe. And I think that is all the missing persons that we had. Josh says, I can't stay long. I have to prep a true crime lecture for a horror class I'm subbing in tomorrow. Oh, that sounds interesting. I would love to be a fly on the wall to hear that. Is that the one that you were talking about the other night? Was it Monday's live stream that you were talking about that? I know you said you were going to do some kind of something about true crime and horror. Anyway, hold on one second. All right, sorry, I had to blow my nose. I'm telling you. Well, good luck with your lecture tomorrow. I know it will go well. All right, let me get my article loaded. Hopefully I remembered all my bookmarks, if they'll come up. Once again, my computer is laggy tonight, as am I. Oh, that's right. Okay, so last weekend, Josh says it was last weekend, I gave a panel talk at our local convention. Yeah, I remember you saying something about some kind of talk or something that you were going to do about the connection with true crime and horror. Was there any? Because I asked you, is there any way you can record it so we can see it? Anyway, like I said, I like to be a fly on the wall to hear that, because I too, and a lot of us here are interested in, true crime, the horror genre, like paranormal stuff. I mean, at least me, paranormal stuff, things of that nature. So there's got to be some kind of connection. Got to be some kind of connection. Mustang says, is West Side's new channel called Kaleidoscope of Crime? I don't think so. It was, man, I'm trying to remember. I wish it had not have deleted that comment, but I don't know if it's I guess it's YouTube, and I can't remember when she posted it, but I think maybe after 12 or 24 hours, if you post a comment in the chat, it erases it for some reason. But I remember when I was, when I was waiting for orders to come in at work today, I got on the StreamYard to upload my slideshow and a video that I have, and I noticed that comment was there, and I read it, and I can't for the life of me think of what it's called now. It's something, crime is in the name of it, but I don't think it was Kaleidoscope of Crime. I'll have to find it. I will find it, and I'll because I don't think it's a whole new channel. She just changed the name of the channel that she's had. But I will find it when we get off here, and I'll post it on the community tab. Josh says they didn't have any recording take in the room. Man, it was just a room, table, and chairs. Oh well. Well, maybe I'll have to. Well, the next time you get a free minute or hour or two, I'll have you on here, and we can talk about that, because I'm seriously fascinated with why there is such a connection with true crime and the horror genre. Yes, absolutely. Mustang says, please do all the things. It does help the algorithm. You talking about the Skits channel? Yeah, I know I'm sub to it. I know if I'll go through it and go over to YouTube and look at my list of subscriptions. And when I see the name, I'll recognize it. But it's something crime. I don't know. Maybe no. And did Miss PJ start a new channel? Because there was no, I can't. The name of that one just flew out of my head. Unscripted Chronicles. I don't know if it's Miss PJ or somebody else that just. I know they've been sharing some of my posts. But I noticed they went live not too long ago when they're doing some of the protest stuff, and that is a lot of what Miss PJ was live streaming. I don't know. I might be way off base on that, but anyway. Excellent. Josh says, I would love to talk about threat and danger bias in pop culture. Yeah, well, yeah. Like I said, next time you get in free. I don't know what your schedule is like, but maybe next time when we go live, it won't be this Friday, next Friday, or sometime whenever you have time, because I know you're busy. Just let me know. We can do a live stream. I can have you on here and talk about whatever you want to talk about. Whatever you want to talk about. Josh says, I can use some of my lecture for it too. Absolutely. Absolutely. I would love to have you on here, my friend. You were kind enough to have me on your channel for a live stream to talk about some missing persons here a while back. So I need to repay the favor. Yes, definitely email me. Absolutely. Yeah, just email me and let me know. Let me know. All right. So, and now I did put, I forgot to, hold on. Let me put my crawler up on the bottom, because some of the stuff what we're going to be discussing tonight is going to be a little bit triggering. That's why I usually don't put the trigger warning little sign at the beginning of the live stream, but I did put it up tonight. Just because of the nature, and nothing graphic. We don't ever get graphic, but just the nature of a couple of the stories we're going to be talking about a little bit. It will definitely triggering. Just like the first case we're going to talk about a little bit. So just be warned if you feel like you can't. It does involve young people. This first story, or a young person. If you feel like you need to, step out or whatever, you can't listen to it, I absolutely understand. You can click off the live stream. You can feel free to go check out my playlist, watch any of my pre-recorded videos or other live streams. Absolutely understandable. So the first one we are going to be talking about, and this happened, let's see, let me get my article up. Earlier this month, almost 2 weeks ago now. So this happened in, where was it at? This is about the, for anybody listening, I know a lot of people listen and don't watch, but no, I don't want to, oh my goodness, got to get all these ads out of my way. At the 11-year-old Addilyn Smith, she was the victim of a homicide by her mother. It was a homicide self-harm deal. While they were at a cheerleading tournament, and what the question I have about this story is why, and I think it might explain it a little bit in this article that I'm going to read. Why did the mother have custody of her? I mean, because there's just a lot of stuff going on. So anyway, this article is from people.com, and it is from the 18th of this month, 2026, February 18th. Mom who took the life of her cheerleader daughter in a hotel during a tournament had lost custody of her for years. So apparently something happened and she had regained custody, or joint custody. So that's the part I don't understand. So anyway, so the woman who fatally GSW'd her 11-year-old daughter in a Nevada hotel room before basically doing the same to herself afterwards, once temporarily lost custody of the child, according to reports. So Addilyn Smith was a beloved cheerleader from Utah. She was the victim of a homicide due to her mother, Tanya McGinn, 34, inside a Las Vegas, Nevada hotel room. And then the mother turned around and self-harmed herself. And this is according to the Las Vegas Metro PD. So officers with the LVMPD did find the bodies on Sunday, February 15th. So this has been about 10 days ago now. According to Fox 5, the mother and daughter were in town for a cheerleading tournament. So court documents obtained by KU TV are now shedding light on McGinn, the mother's history with her daughter. So Addilyn, who is the daughter, her parents divorced in 2017, according to court records pertaining to the custody arrangements. In December of 2020, a Utah County court granted Addilyn's father sole custody on a temporary basis. So in his decision, a judge cited McGinn's, the mother's, parental alienation as one of the reasons for this decision. The judge further said that McGinn had committed domestic abuse in front of Addilyn, who is the daughter. So per the judge's order, McGinn was required to have a third party present for her parent time with Addilyn, according to KUTV reporting. But then the decree was modified in May of 2024, so less than a year ago. No, less than 2 years ago. Sorry, I keep forgetting it's 2026. When a judge awarded both parents joint legal and physical custody. And this article says it was not immediately clear what led to this modification. So that's what I was wondering. I mean, something had to happen where the first judge or the first hearing said, no, the father has full custody. The mother has to be supervised visits. And then, almost a year and a half ago, it was changed, and now we're here. I don't understand how these things happen. So the article goes on to say Addilyn is being deeply mourned following the crime, which has shaken her cheer community. A post on Facebook said she was so beyond loved, and she will always be a part of the UXC family. So it's the Utah Extreme Cheer group. Her coach said, quote, she took a lot of pride in what she was doing. Emily Morgan is the name of the coach, or who once coached Addilyn. She says, as a coach, that is the dream. And because of that attitude, I always knew that she was going to go far in this experience. So Addilyn and her mother's bodies were found following a welfare check request from Addilyn's cheer team after she missed the competition on Sunday morning. According to Fox 5, police initially responded to the hotel for the welfare check and got no response, but found no reason for concern. That's according to an LVMPD statement. They said they found no reason for concern. However, hotel security personnel decided to go into the room after repeated calls for the checks later in the day, per the LVMPD, and it was not immediately clear what led up to this crime, and police have not publicly commented on a motive. So just an obviously horribly sad case. I mean, just like I said, I don't understand. I mean, the judicial system does their thing, but for there to be in the initial ruling, like I said, Addilyn was granted sole custody to the father. The mother, Tanya, her visits had to be supervised, and it said this was due to some kind of DV that she had done in front of Addilyn. But then, like I said, a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago now, it was reversed for some reason, and they got joint physical, what did it say? Joint custody, joint legal and physical custody, and then This happens 10 days ago. I don't understand. I don't understand how these things happen. But anyway, so it says at the bottom, if you suspect child abuse or any kind of DV, call the Child Help National hotline at 1-800-4A-CHILD or 1-800-422, 4453. You can also go to www.childhelp.org. All calls are toll-free and confidential. The hotline is available 24/7 in more than 170 languages. So unfortunately, we all know just the nature of what we talk about, and in the true crime world, we know that a lot of DV and abuse happens. Many forms of DV and abuse happen. It's just so important to just to bring awareness and try to share out as much as we can where to find help if you need it. All right, let me get back into the comments for a second and we'll get on to the next one. Hey, Black Knight 007, good to see you, my friend. Always good to see you. I hope you're doing well tonight, sir. Thank you, Junior says he's going to get ready for bed, but he'll be listening. Thank you, sir. Always good to have Junior here. Yep. Miss Paula says prayers. Absolutely. Josh asks, wasn't there another unaliving related to this cheer event years ago? I don't know. There might have been. There might have been. I wouldn't doubt it. And see, when I first, because I haven't watched them in years, but back when I would watch some reality shows, they had all like these cheer mom shows, because you got like the cheer moms, the pageant moms, just these wacko people and when I just read the headline of this, that's what was first came to my mind was, some psycho, cheer mom, and air quotes, cheer mom took the life of her daughter because she didn't do good in the competition. Obviously that's not the case in this. I'm thinking this has to be some kind of mental health issues or some kind of issues with the mother, but there possibly could have been. I have heard of, like I said, unfortunately, of things like this happening before. Josh says, I might be confusing with another event. I can't seem to find another. It's possible. Like I said, it's just a whole lot of stuff like this happens, unfortunately. But just that picture of and the one on the left-hand side, I mean, they just look so happy, that mother and daughter, and then the little girl, Addilyn, is just such a pretty little girl. She's 11 years old, just her whole life ahead of her, and now, anyway, all right. So let me get my other article loaded and see what we have next. So next we have some pseudo celebrity true crime, if you want to call it that. Apparently, a former American Idol contestant took the life of his wife, and he blamed a burglar. And I mentioned having a video to play earlier, and I do have the video, and the video is just, I mainly wanted to play it because he did make a 911 call, and I'm just going to say I've listened to it a couple of times. It's not very convincing, So obviously we know now he has been charged with her homicide. And I can't remember the last time I've watched a whole season of American Idol. I may catch it. I think Miss Paula watches it on a pretty regular basis. I do catch an episode or two every once in a while if I'm flipping through on whatever night it's on. But I do know this season there are two people from Arkansas on. A lady and a gentleman. And I think the boy, I'm gonna say boy, the gentleman, I think he's only like 16 years old. And I think they both did make it to what they call it Hollywood Week. Now, I haven't heard anything. Of course, they've been talking about it on the local news here. So I don't know if they've made it further, if they've already had Hollywood Week or whatever. But anyway, So this is what's his name? Caleb Flynn. And I think he was on season, I know it tells the season in the article, maybe 15. But this article is from NBCnews.com. It is from February 20th, just a few days ago. Former American Idol contestant accused of taking the life of his wife and blaming a burglar. So a former American Idol contestant was charged with the homicide of his wife at their Ohio home and staging the crime scene to look like a fatal burglary. And this is according to authorities. So Caleb Flynn, who is 39, was charged Friday with homicide, felonious assault, and tampering with evidence in the February 16th death of his wife, Ashley Flynn. And this is according to a criminal complaint filed in Miami County Municipal Court. So he pleaded not guilty during a court appearance, and he is being held on $2 million cash bond, according to court and jail records. So in a statement, Caleb's lawyer said that his client looks forward to defending himself against the allegations. The lawyer, Patrick Mulligan, said, quote, "We are both disappointed and concerned about the short timeline and seeming rush to judgment in this case," end quote. So authorities have not identified a possible motive. So Caleb, he was on season 12. So Caleb appeared on season 12 of American Idol. They described him on American Idol as a music pastor who was born to sing. So Ashley Flynn, his wife, who was 37, was a substitute teacher and a middle school volleyball coach in Tip City, which is north of Dayton. The local school district said in a Facebook post, she was described as a dedicated teacher known for her a beautiful smile, her warmth, her kindness, and the positive impact that she had on so many. In a February 16th news release, the city's police department said that officers were dispatched to the home at around 2:30 a.m. after a reported burglary that involved a resident who had been shot. So in the audio of the 911 call, which was obtained by NBC News, Caleb Flynn, it could be heard frantically telling a dispatcher that someone had broken into his home and shot his wife. Like I said, I'm going to play the video here in a minute. Hopefully to play. Hopefully, I know sometimes the video part is a little laggy, but hopefully the audio will come through. But to me, he doesn't sound that convincing. I mean, that's, plus they found other things that made them suspicious. So the garage door, so according to police, the garage door was wide open. According to him, what he said on his 911 call, he said the garage door was wide open. He could be heard saying, and he said that his wife had been GSW'd twice in the head. Now, he would have to get either he did it, or he would have to got really up close to her to know that she had been GSW'd twice. So that, to me, set off a red flag. So the police statement said that their 2 children were home at the time. I'm assuming they were unharmed. So in the complaint, a police detective accused Caleb Flynn of fatally GSWing his wife with a 9mm firearm, staging the crime scene, and misleading officers. So the complaint does not say how authorities determined that he allegedly staged the scene. Now, in this video I'm going to play, it does go into a little bit of detail of things that they found at the scene that didn't quite jive with his version of the story. So yeah, just so let me hopefully I remember to upload the video. Let me get caught up in us. Miss Paula says, I love American Idol. Yeah, and I was thinking that you said you watched American Idol on a regular basis. Yeah, I forgot that it moved. Yeah, Miss Paula said, I think that was the last season of Idol when it was on Fox before it moved to ABC. Yeah, I remember it switching networks. Are you talking about Caleb? So Miss Paula said that he did not make it to the top 24 on that season. Yeah, that's why I'm saying, pseudo celebrity. So is this a quote from Caleb here? Josh posted weird. A quote, the thing that makes me unique, I absolutely love the Lord. I love my wife more than anything. She is very, very, very pretty, end quote. Okay. I mean, you know, to me, just my opinion, attractiveness is not the first thing I look for. You know, it would be their personality, how they treated people, how they treat. I don't know, but yeah, that is a weird quote. I see what you're. So he also quoted, quote, "I'm just a normal person who absolutely loves to sing more than anything in the world." Well, maybe allegedly you like to do some other things, and maybe you didn't love your wife as much as you said you did. Yeah, that is weird. She is very, 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 three varies, very pretty. And she is a pretty lady. But to me, that would not be my sole focus when would be describing my partner, whoever I'm married to, you know. Anyways, let me play this video. So let me take this down for a minute. And like I said, hopefully at least the video or the audio will come through fairly well, because just you listen to it and let me know what you think about how convincing or unconvincing he is with this 911 call.
Care of my daughters. I'm not at risk. I understand. Okay.
That was Caleb Flynn Friday morning in an orange jail jumpsuit, working to convince a Miami County judge he's not a flight risk. He's facing charges of murder, 2 counts of felonious assault, and 2 counts of tampering with evidence.
The court is going to order a $2 million blanket bond in this case.
On Friday, we got a hold of the 911 call Caleb made.
Somebody broke into my home. I shot my wife. The door to leaving to the garage door was wide open when I ran in there.
But this report we got our hands on said a Tip City detective noticed the side.
I just want to take care of my daughters. I'm not at risk. I understand. Okay.
That was Caleb Flynn Friday.
Hold on. I don't know why it started over. Let me fast forward through this little bit. I don't know why it started over. Hold on.
Friday morning in an orange jail jumpsuit, working to not a flight risk. He's facing charges of murder, 2 counts of felonious assault, and 2 counts of tampering with evidence.
The court is going to order a $2 million blanket bond in this case.
On Friday, we got a hold of the 911 call Caleb made.
Somebody broke into my home. I shot my wife. The door to leaving to the garage door was wide open when I ran in there.
But this report we got our hands on said a Tip City detective noticed the side door in the garage was open. But, quote, as we were looking at the door, we noticed the door has a large fridge in front of it that would have had been pushed to open the door. It goes on to say, while officers were in the garage, they saw the center console in the truck was open, which, quote, Caleb told him his gun was at.
My wife she's got 2 shots to her head. There's blood everywhere. Oh, my God.
This report says officers found Ashley Flynn dead in the master bedroom, where 2 gun shell casings were found. The weapon used was a 9mm handgun. On Friday, a judge explained if Flynn posts his bond, he'll be on house arrest and a no-contact order.
You are not allowed to communicate through family members whatsoever. Do you understand all of that? Yes, sir.
Yeah, so how convincing do you guys think this 911 call was? But to me, now I'm no forensic expert by any means. We all know Mr. Steve is the forensic expert. But to me, the big red flag, aside from they mentioned the refrigerator had been moved away from this door that was standing wide open, which it didn't say if it was inside in front of the door or out in the garage in front of the door, because I know some people have like freezers extra freezer that they put in their garage or carport to store extra food in or whatever. But to me, in his 911 call, he says, and I'm trying not to be I'm not trying to be graphic or whatever, but he says, my wife has been shot twice in the head, and he said that there's blood everywhere. So just to me, that would say that either he did it, he knew that she had been shot twice because he did it, allegedly, or that he got really close to her and could see the two. And it's possible, I mean, that he did it close. That he had nothing to do with it. He got close to her, could see two GSWs to her head. But to me, that just sent up I don't know, maybe it's just me. But God forbid if I ever walked in on a scene like that for one of my loved ones, I would get close enough to see if they were breathing, but I would, back off. And if it was obvious GSWs, I would back off, call 911, whatever. But everybody reacts different. I understand that. But anyway, just let me know what you guys think. If you have any opinion one way or the other. Let me see. Yeah, Josh said, talking about earlier about how that earlier quote, just Josh said, just an odd combination of things to say in one setting. Absolutely. Yeah, given the circumstances. Yep. Mustang agrees. Josh says in 2013, he stood before a national audience on American Idol and declared, quote, I absolutely love the Lord and I love my wife more than anything, end quote. Yeah, maybe not so much. Allegedly. Excuse me, Mustang says it was not convincing to her. Okay, Black Knight says, and I believe she was pregnant. Really? That would be even awfuler than it already is. Let me see. I didn't mention this article, but let me see. It's possible. Hold on one second. So maybe if she was pregnant, that could be motive. Maybe he didn't. I hate to speculate and theorize, and we don't know. He has been charged with the homicide. He's innocent until proven guilty. But I mean, let's see if there's any more up to date articles, because I think here's one from Yahoo from 2 days ago. Let's see if it says anything different. A former American Idol contestant from Ohio faces homicide charges. We already went over that. Same information. So Ashley, the wife, was, of course, obviously pronounced COD, or the Tip City Police Department declined to release additional details, saying in a statement to People that it is not sharing more information to protect the integrity of the investigation. So this one says a GoFundMe has been established to support her two daughters. Describes Ashley as someone whose laughter was contagious and who was the biggest encourager. She loved people deeply. An online obituary honored her as a shining light of joy to all who crossed her path. Man, that would be, if she was pregnant, that's even more, like I said, obviously even more horrible. And like I said, possibly a motive. I don't know. Maybe he didn't want any more kids, or was having some extracurricular activity. Don't know. Yes, absolutely horrible. So I'll keep an eye on this, or we can all keep an eye on this and see if any other information comes out. I don't know when the trial is supposed to start, but anyway, horrible. Let's see what we got next. So we'll lighten it up for a minute. We actually have, oh, hold on. I almost kicked myself out of StreamYard. Let me go to the right tab before I load my articles. We actually have some true crime movie news, which I was very excited to hear about because I loved. So apparently they're making a Heat 2. So I don't know, raise your hand if you've seen Heat. I think it came out when did it come out? 95 or so, mid 90s, early 2000s. Starred Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, Val Kilmer. One of my favorite movies. I love that movie. And several. This one from Screen Rant came up in my Google News feed. It was just talking about how Christian Bale, who I love Christian Bale also, is going to be in Heat 2. And I'm like, wait a minute. I didn't know they were making a Heat 2. So I got really excited. But anyway, hey, Miss Farr, good to see you, ma'am. Welcome. It's always good to see Miss Farr all the way from Australia. I had to make sure I remember to turn my audio or my mic back on. Like I've been sitting here talking for the past 5 minutes and nobody can hear me. So I'm very excited about this. So like I said, this is from screenrant.com. And it is from the 24th of February. And also Al Pacino is going to be back for the sequel. And I think the sequel is kind of going to be a sequel prequel situation. Sorry, I'm trying to get rid of ads so I can actually read the dang article. No, I don't want to. Stop. Okay, so Robert De Niro's crime thriller is back, and now Christian Bale has been added to the cast for the upcoming and long-awaited sequel, Heat 2. I guess I should have read, for anybody who hasn't seen the first one, what it's about. I think it pretty much describes the first one in the article. So the rumored cast for the sequel that's taken 31 years, that makes me feel real old, because it seems like yesterday when I would watch this movie constantly, includes Leonardo DiCaprio, Austin Butler, Christian Bale, Adam Driver, Ana de Armas, and also returning for the second movie is Al Pacino. So the original Heat was released in 1995 and followed Neil McCauley, who is played by Robert De Niro, who is a professional thief, and he hopes to pull off one last heist before he retires. However, Lieutenant Vincent Hanna, who is played by Pacino, is hot on his tail. So according to Fox News reporter Jake Hamilton, it was confirmed that Christian Bale would be joining the cast of Heat 2, and filming would commence soon. So Hamilton shared the update on X with the caption, quote, Christian Bale just told me, quote, I'll be back in Chicago soon for Heat 2, end quote. So it was reported in November of 2025 that Bale was circling a lead role in Michael Mann's sequel. Mann and Bale would be working together for the first time in 17 years after the 2009 crime thriller Public Enemies. So Heat 2 is actually based on Michael Mann's novel that he released in 2022, which acts as a prequel and sequel to the original movie. It is said to explore Pacino's character, Lieutenant Vince Hanna, in his early days as a detective, as well as the two criminals of the story, Neil McCauley, who once again is played by Robert De Niro, and Chris Shaherlis, which I believe that was the character that Val Kilmer played before the 1995 movie, but also what happened after the movie's ending. So this is going to be awesome, in my opinion. So it is rumored. Ads keep on. It is rumored that Leonardo DiCaprio will be up for the role as Chris Shaherlis, who was originally played by Val Kilmer, but it has not been confirmed who Christian Bale will be playing. So it'll be interesting to know who he is going to be playing. So 1995's Heat had incredible reviews with an impressive 84% score on Rotten Tomatoes. It was considered a highly successful. The movie helped solidify De Niro's career as a terrific crime actor, which, yes, most of the movies I've seen, and Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, two of my most favorite actors in the world. De Niro does a lot of mafia movies, obviously, and Pacino does too. And Heat was actually the first time, though, that Pacino and De Niro had appeared on screen together. Of course, in The Godfather 2, they were both in the movie, but they didn't have any screen time because it was flashbacks. But anyway, don't get me off on the movie thing. So I lost my place. So the movie helped solidify De Niro as the crime actor, as well as establishing the great on-screen chemistry between he and Al Pacino. Heat grossed over $187 million worldwide, and it was just a $60 million budget. So they made somebody made lots of money off this movie. It wasn't regarded as an instant blockbuster, but over time it did become a cult classic and is recognized as an influential crime film. So with the update from Christian Bale, filming in Chicago is expected to begin soon. And at the time of the writing of this article, there is no official release date. However, it is likely that Heat 2 will be arriving sometime in 2027. So I have now a movie that I can actually look forward to. Because, I mean, I don't know what it is. It just seems like the movies that come out nowadays, even the horror movies, they're not as. It just doesn't seem like, in my opinion, that there's nothing as good. Hollywood is not as good, in my opinion, as it was back in like the 80s, 90s, maybe through the early 2000s. It just seems like everything is either a remake or it's. And I know there are only so many stories that can be told, but everything's either a remake or it's just stupid or just not the actors just phone it in. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but there are very few new movies that I have watched. Of course, it's been years since I went to the movie theater because it costs so freaking much to go to the movie theater to see a movie. So I just hope that it will. Something that I want to watch is on a streaming service that I have, or they show it on a satellite or whatever. But I'm actually very, very excited for this one. Absolutely. Sounds like this will be a stellar cast, a great sequel. I was just so excited when I saw it. Anyway, maybe it's just me. Let me see. I know Joshua wasn't talking to me, he was talking to Far, but he asked Far, has she heard from Mind of Monsters? I have not seen her. I know that she, in her last live stream that she did here on YouTube, she said she was going to be doing a lot more on TikTok. But I haven't seen her, and I have TikTok, but I once in a blue moon, once again, I'll get on TikTok. But I haven't seen her do any live streams or post anything a whole lot lately. What case is this? So Far said the people here, so Far is in Australia. So the people here who kidnapped the 85-year-old man here and tortured and unalived him have been arrested. Sad thing, they took the wrong man, and when they sent ransom to family, they had the wrong family. What? I have not heard about that. Oh my goodness. That is horrible. So Far says she spoke with Mind of Monsters a few days ago. Excellent. Josh said Fox has court documents for Ashley Flynn's case. Oh, the Caleb Flynn case. Fox. Okay. Let me see. Give me 1 second. I'm searching. Okay, I found something from Fox News. Okay, so let me go back to this other. Oh, let me go to the right tab. Okay, to this case. About the autopsy. Okay, so thank you, Josh. This is from Fox News. It is from the 17th. Christian, a mother teacher autopsy conducted as police probe homicide in Ohio home invasion. So it says an autopsy was conducted Tuesday morning for a Christian, Ohio mother of two who was found deceased inside her home as investigators continue to pursue what authorities describe as a complex homicide investigation. The Tip City Police Department confirmed that an autopsy was performed on 37-year-old Ashley Flynn. Results are pending, and investigators are actively following up on information and evidence obtained during the autopsy process, according to the department. The substitute teacher was found deceased early Monday after officers responded at about 2:30 a.m. to a reported burglary in progress in the family's suburban neighborhood in Tip City, Ohio. Police previously said that she had been GSW'd. She was pronounced DOA, or dead at the scene. In Tuesday's update, authorities said investigators worked late into the night securing the scene and returning in the morning to continue collecting and identifying additional evidence. Following the early Monday morning burglary, authorities met with Flynn's husband, 39-year-old Caleb Flynn, and the couple's two children inside the residence. The department said it is utilizing all available staff and resources and is working in collaboration with the Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigation, the Miami County Sheriff's Office, the blah, blah, all the alphabet agencies. So this was before okay, so I don't know if I'm reading the right one, because it says authorities acknowledge ongoing public concern about whether a suspect has been identified. So we know that the husband has been identified and charged. I might not have been reading the right article. Yeah, I'll have to look up. Do you have any names in that case, Miss Farr? I will definitely look at it. Yeah, Josh said that sounds about as weird as the Guthrie kidnapping. I know that there's so many. I don't know that. I don't even know what the latest on the Nancy Guthrie thing is. I know that Savannah, I think, made another video, and the family is now offering, was it $1 million reward, some kind of big reward? Okay, so Farr said her case in Australia, he was kidnapped on the 13th of February. And that she told you, yeah, Farr said it does remind her of a Nancy Guthrie case. Okay, Josh said, the Fox documents are criminal complaints of homicide, felonious assault, and tampering with evidence. Yeah, that's what he was charged with. Yeah, Mustang says TMZ should be ashamed. I know. Are they still saying, or talk? Because they keep saying, apparently, just in little bits and pieces that I have seen that have either come up on the news or on my YouTube feed or whatever, that supposedly they're getting some kind of notes from I don't know, I don't think they say it's the kidnapper, but somebody who's claiming to know who the kidnapper is, and they're so they're demanding that some Bitcoin be deposited in a Bitcoin account, and then they'll tell them who the kidnapper is or something. Yeah, to me, I know. TMZ's anyway. They're what they call it, crap, I call them anyway. Yep, I can see your comments, Mustang. Definitely, I can see them. Okay, so Farr says Chris, I'm gonna try not to butcher the last name, Boxarian was the man's name. Okay, let me hold on one second. I have to go back and look at the spelling of the last name again. Chris. B-A-G-H. Okay. Maybe if I get close, it'll. Kidnapping Australia. See if I can get anything to come up here. Okay. All right, let me I found an article. Let me see if it'll let me screen share. Give me one second. Share screen. Might take a minute for, I know the other night when I was trying to screen share, it took a minute for it to pop up. Here it comes. There it is. All right, so this is from abc.net.au, Australia. 2 men arrested over alleged kidnapping, homicide of Sydney grandfather Chris Boxarian. So 2 men arrested in connection with the abduction and death of Sydney grandfather Chris Boxarian are expected to be charged with his kidnapping and homicide. The 85-year-old was abducted from his home in North Ryde at 5 a.m. on February 13th in a case of mistaken identity. So that's what Farr had mentioned. This morning, a 29-year-old man in Kenthurst and a 24-year-old man in Castle Hill were arrested during raids at 2 separate addresses. And this is Mr. Boxarian. I apologize if I'm pronouncing his last name incorrectly. So sad. 85 years old. So the arrest came less than 24 hours after police discovered human remains near a golf club in Pitt Town in the northwest fringes of Sydney as the search for Mr. Boxarian reached its 11th day. So police today confirmed that remains did belong to Mr. Boxarian. The men were taken to Riverstone Police Station where they are being questioned. They are expected to be charged with Mr. Boxarian's kidnapping and homicide. So I'm assuming this is one of the, and I don't know why I'm just looking at the slide or the, on my phone, everything looks dark. I don't know what it is. I'm assuming this is one of the, I'm not going to say gentlemen, one of the POSs here being arrested. So electronic devices and clothing were among the items seized during the raids. A third search warrant was conducted in Lake Macquarie, where electronic devices were also seized. In the days after the kidnapping, police say up to 3 people could be involved in the plot, with robbery and serious crimes squad commander Andrew Mark saying more arrests could follow. He said, quote, "We suspect there is more than 3 alleged offenders involved." Goodness gracious. He goes on to say, at this stage, we don't have any evidence to implicate others, but that is ongoing, end quote. There's another picture. Police arrested another man. So messages seen by the ABC being investigated by police show kidnappers wanted $50 million from a Sydney businessman. Superintendent Mark said that he believed the 2 men arrested today did not send those messages. He said, quote, "I believe somebody else was sending those messages." Superintendent Marks said the men had limited criminal histories. He said, quote, they are known to police, but only for insignificant matters, end quote. So the men had been staying with their parents at the time of their arrest, with Superintendent Marks saying that their relatives had been shocked by the raids. So Mr. Baksarian's family on Wednesday released a statement via NSW police requesting privacy as they, quote, continue attempting to come to terms with this incident, end quote. The statement said, quote, we welcome the news of the recent arrest in relation to the kidnapping of our father and grandfather. Superintendent Marks described the tragedy as, quote, somebody's worst nightmare. Absolutely. He said, quote, the fact that an innocent man was taken from his home is not acceptable, end quote. And he also said, quote, these people need to be held to account for that, end quote. Absolutely. So in recent days, officers had scoured bushland in Glenorrey following the sighting of a Toyota Corolla forensically linked to what they called a stronghold in nearby Doral. Police believe the derelict Doral property was used as a base by Mr. Baksarian's captors. Images and video had circulated of Mr. Baksarian tied up and being assaulted, prompting police to repeatedly issue urgent pleas for his safe return. So Superintendent Marks previously said police were investigating whether the car in question was driven out to Glenorrey and Pitt Town within 48 hours of his abduction. He said on Wednesday, police believe that Mr. Baksarian passed away at the Doral location before his body was left at the Pitt Town scene. Man. So you said now that they think that they abducted the wrong person? Oh my goodness. Horrible. Let me see if I can find anything else on because that article was from I don't know when it was from. Let me see. Man. I mean, like, you know, it's bad enough that they kidnapped him, but if it was the wrong one that they kidnapped, thinking, you know, it was somebody else that they wanted to try to get ransom for, it's just, oh my goodness. Horrible. Oh, here we go. Let's see if it'll switch over. Nope, I'll have to hold on. I did find another article about the mistaken identity. Let me make sure I'm removing oh no, I gotta do quit sharing. Hold on. 1 second, 1 second. Stop screen. Share screen. Right, should pop up. 1 second. Or 2. Or 3. Here it comes. There it is. Okay, it takes in a second. Okay, so 85-year-old widower kidnapped and unalived in the apparent case of mistaken identity. So Australian detectives arrested 2 men Wednesday over the alleged kidnapping and homicide of an elderly grandfather in a suspected case of mistaken identity. So Chris Baksarian, 85, was taken from his home in Sydney's North Ryde suburb. So we went over that. But police say neither he nor his family had any underworld connections. So after a long search, the police did find Mr. Baksarian's remains Tuesday near a golf club in Sydney's northwestern fringes. Robbery and crime squad detectives arrested a 24-year-old man and a 29-year-old man. A video released by police showing officers. Did it ever switch over? Anyway, showed police officers forcing their way into a property to arrest one of 2 suspects. We'll get down to the part where they say it was mistaken identity. So New South Wales robbery and serious crime squad commander Andrew Marks said he expected the men would be charged in connection with the kidnapping and homicide of Mr. Baksarian. Marks, who has led the police investigation since Baksarian's disappearance, described it as a, quote, horrible, horrible matter. Absolutely. He said, it, quote, it's somebody's worst nightmare, right? The fact that an innocent man was taken from his home is not acceptable. These people need to be held to account for that, end quote. So the victim was a widower. He lived alone. In a statement shared via the police, his family said they welcomed the news of the recent arrest in relation to the kidnapping of her father and grandfather. So Marks previously said that he was, quote, 1,000,000% confident the kidnappers got the wrong person. So police believe his kidnappers were instead targeting a relative of a convicted armed robber and founder of a streetwear brand linked to the West Sydney-based I'm gonna butcher this name, Alameddine crime network, according to the Sydney Morning Herald. So screenshots shared on a social media channel covering Sydney's underworld purported to show the kidnappers demanding $50 million Australian ransom in return for his release. And it says, quote, dumb error, the target tells them in the messages seen by AFP. It says, quote, you plugged the wrong bloke, good luck next time, end quote. Oh my God. So police detective Marks said that he had seen the message and said, quote, that was the figure that was requested. So the tragedy unfolded. Oh, dadgummit. Oh, sorry. So the tragedy unfolded half a world away from Tucson, Arizona, where authorities are searching for 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie, the mother of Today host Savannah Guthrie. The family has offered a reward of up to $1 million for information leading to the recovery of Nancy Guthrie, who went missing from her home on February 1st. The kidnapping and Savannah Guthrie's emotional video appeals to her mother's abductors have galvanized attention across the U.S. and made headlines around the world. Man, that just got the wrong guy. I mean, they shouldn't have been getting any guy, but that is just crazy. Nope, I can still see you, Mustang. I can still see you. Yeah, Black Knight said, that poor lady talking about Nancy Guthrie. I know. I'm telling you that, in my opinion, that's turned into, I don't know, some kind of shite show. I don't know. You know, we don't down law enforcement here, and I'm sure they're probably doing the best they can, but man, I don't know. I just don't know about that whole thing. Anyway. Okay, so Farr says about Mr. Boxarian's case, the people here were allegedly hired from overseas. That is just crazy. Yeah, Josh said, so, sorry, let me stop it. I might just stop sharing the screen because it makes everything lag. Put my slideshow back up there. Says, so are the kidnappers looking for another 85-year-old? Yeah, apparently. Some former armed robbery, I think is armed robber. Let me see if it'll come back up. Said, hold on, it may just be the site is lagging a whole lot. Let me get back down to that part. Yeah, it said, police believe the kidnappers were instead targeting a relative of a convicted armed robber and founder of a streetwear brand linked to the West Sydney-based Alameddine crime network. It's craziness. Yeah. Apparently, is there a lot of organized crime that goes on in Australia, Miss Farr? I don't know. Wow. So so Miss Farr was answering. Josh says, yes, a few doors down. So the intended target was just like 5 doors down from the, oh my goodness. Josh says apparently there's video of the victim with pajamas and injuries. Yeah, I think it said something in this let me go back down. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, there was some video. Yeah, it says video and photos obtained by local media have reportedly shown Mr. Boxarian with serious injuries, including a severed finger. Oh my God. Oh my goodness. That's crazy. So Josh says, according to BBC, last year a 23-year-old plumber was GSW'd in his driveway in Condell Park. Is that also in Australia? In what police believe was also a case of mistaken identity. Goodness gracious. They need to find, no, they don't need to find anybody to take out anybody else, but man, they got some bumbling criminals here. I mean, goodness gracious. Hey, Miss Heather, good to see you. She says, hey, Southern Gal Paula Farr, can't stay but wanted to stop and leave a like. Thank you, ma'am. Good to see you, Miss Heather. I hope you're doing well. Yeah. Josh says, if you're going to be a professional criminal, at least be competent in your field and get the right target. I know. Man. Oh, so they have, Miss Farr says they do have video of him being kidnapped. Oh my goodness. I'm going to have to look into this some more. Yeah, Miss Farr says, I'm praying that no matter which way it goes, that Nancy Guthrie's family gets her back. Absolutely. And I think, because I have watched, I think, a clip of that. I don't know how long that last video that Savannah put out was, where, and really her last couple of videos or shorts that she's put out, I kind of get the idea that the family has kind of thinks that maybe, I mean, obviously we always hope for the best, that Miss Nancy's alive and well out there somewhere, but I think the video, the last couple of videos, I just get the impression that, you know, that the family is, you know, kind of accepting or coming to terms with the fact that she may not be alive, but they just, regardless, you know, they want her back. So yeah, Miss Farr says she feels so bad for Nancy's family. Absolutely. Oh, so y'all do have it. Ms. Farr says they do have a lot of organized crime in Australia. Wow. I'm going to have to look into that too. Josh says, I've followed some organized crime cases in Australia going back to the 50s. Man. I just never thought about, made the connection between the organized crime. And I'm sure there's probably some form of organized crime everywhere at some point in time, but I just never, when I think of organized crime, I just always think of, you know, like the American Mafia, because I follow, or I'm interested in the American Mafia. I've done a lot of research and reading up on the American Mafia. I'm going back to way back in the day, and then all the way up to its last hurrah, basically in the 80s or so, with John Gotti and all that. And even before Gotti, or well, they finally took him down, you know, and took down a lot of the heads of the families and a lot of the top people. And it's still there, it's still here, but it's just not as prominent, and in the spotlight and in the media and in your face as it used to be back in the day. Oh my goodness. Ms. Farr also says they were sending the torture video to the wrong family, the family whose family member was meant to be kidnapped. So I wonder if when they sent the video of Mr. Boxarian to the family members of the person they said, wait a minute, that's not the right guy, or that's not our family member. So I wonder if they contacted police and said, hey, you know, But if they were, I mean, I don't know if they were into organized crime. Or some, any kind of crime. I'm assuming they wouldn't contact the police. So Josh said the video of the kidnapping was in the current victim's driveway. So I'm assuming it's some kind of security system video or something. Josh said Savannah's plea on video was heartbreaking. I know that last one she did, where I think it's the one she made where they did offer the $1 million reward. Yeah, it's heartbreaking. Who is Somerset Man? Josh said, I used to think Somerset Man in Australia was connected to organized crime. Okay, so far says the family of the intended victim says, yeah, we don't know him. Oh my goodness. Goodness gracious. That is, I keep saying it, that is horrible. Oh, man. All right, well, I'm going to try to, and Miss Farr can keep us up to date too on any new information, but I'll keep my eye on that. Let me bookmark this article so I won't forget about it. All right, so yeah. Yep, that's about it. Josh said that sent the video with the wrong target to the right target's family and asked for $50 million. Oh God, can you just imagine the family's like, wait a minute, that's not our dad or grandpa or whoever, whatever it was to them. Oh my goodness. Bumbling idiots. You know, criminals aren't known to be smart for the most part. All right. All right, let me, so next, so we talked about the Heat 2. So next, just wanted to cover a little bit, the Kurt Cobain thing has been coming up again in the news. So we'll talk about that for a minute. I mean, so there's been, ever since he passed away, which was back in, I'm trying to think of what year it was. Anyway, there's been all sorts of rumors, conspiracy theories, rabbit holes. I've gone down so many rabbit holes with the Kurt Cobain situation. Not necessarily saying that I believe everything that I read about the conspiracy theories, but you know, just because I like to go down rabbit holes, and I've always been a big Nirvana fan. But first, so just a little bit of background for anybody who might not know who Kurt Cobain is. So Kurt Cobain was an American musician. He was the lead vocalist, guitarist, and primary songwriter and founding member of the grunge band Nirvana. Through his angsty songwriting and anti-establishment persona, he widened the thematic conventions of mainstream rock music. He was heralded as a spokesman of Gen X, which I'm a member of Gen X, as a lot of you guys are, and is widely recognized as one of the most influential rock musicians. So I won't give you the whole history of Pearl Jam. Wrong band, of Nirvana. So I'm just going to, so this is from Wikipedia, this first information, but I did want to go over because in somebody else's chat the other night, it might have been Dave's live stream. I don't know if it was this last one he did or a weekend before. He did talk about this story, and somebody in chat asked, you know, why is it so hard for people to believe that Kurt Cobain didn't take himself out, you know, self-harm? Because everybody's convinced, or not everybody, a lot of people are convinced that it was a homicide. And, you know, there's little things here and there that make me kind of think, you know, maybe. But he did have a history of, I'm trying to scroll down to the part that from Wikipedia that I did want to read. He did have a history of alleged attempted self-harm and or either intentional or accidental ODs. So, I mean, it's not out of the, and for the most part, I tend to believe that it probably was, unfortunately, self-harm. But, you know, everybody has their own opinion. I'm still trying to scroll through everything to get. So he's married to another thing, and I don't. He was married to Courtney Love. They had a child, a little girl. Well, she's not so little now. Frances Bean. So Courtney did have her own band. Was in her own band. Was never a big Courtney Love fan. Still not a big Courtney Love fan. But that is a different story. So a little bit about his mental health and his alleged attempted self-harms. So during school, or when he was in school, Kurt Cobain was diagnosed with ADD. He was prescribed Ritalin. However, his mother felt the medication did not help. So she changed, I guess, took him off the meds, changed his diet, blah, blah, blah. So he did have some health conditions. He had chronic bronchitis. He did have intense physical pain due to an undiagnosed chronic stomach condition. Trying to find. So he had minor scoliosis in junior high. According to the Telegraph, he had depression. In 1993, he told Michael Azarad that he had narcolepsy and manic depression. His cousin brought attention to the family history of self-harm, mental illness, and alcoholism, noting that two of her uncles had passed away by self-harm. According to Cross, Cobain did suffer a mental breakdown midway through Nirvana's show in Rome in November of 1989. After smashing his guitar, he climbed a 30-foot speaker stack and shouted, "I'm going to K myself." So eventually he did come down. He took the following day off. Says he first drank alcohol in 7th grade when he was 12 years old. He often drank to excess throughout his life. Said his first illegal substance experience was marijuana at age 13. It said he used regularly during adulthood. It said they also had a period of consuming notable amounts of LSD. So he, from early on, he did suffer from many addictions, mental health issues. So he began to use H around 1992 or so. So it said the morning after the band's first performance on Saturday Night Live in 1992, Cobain experienced his first near-death OD after injecting A's, and Courtney Love supposedly resuscitated him. Again, on May 2nd, 1993, he OD'd at his home in Seattle. Courtney called the paramedics. He was taken to the Harborview Medical Center. He was discharged. Prior to a performance in July of 1993, he OD'd again. And it said that this time, rather than calling for an ambulance, Courtney injected Cobain with naloxone to resuscitate him. Then he proceeded to go out and perform the concert with Nirvana like nothing had happened. And it says by March of 1994, Courtney Love said, quote, "I've seen Kurt close to death from H overdoses on more than a dozen occasions." So he did have a history of either unintentional or maybe intentional ODs. So following a tour stop at Terminal Inns in Munich, Germany on March 1st, 1994, Cobain was diagnosed with bronchitis and severe laryngitis. He flew to Rome the next day for medical treatment. He was joined there by Courtney Love. And on this was March 3rd. And the next morning, Courtney awoke to find that Cobain had OD'd on a combination of champagne and Rohypnol. He was rushed to the hospital. He was unconscious for the rest of the day. Dave Grohl, who's a singer, he was the drummer in Nirvana, and then the singer and Foo Fighters, mentioned in his memoir that he had actually received a phone call at the time saying that actually with that OD that Kurt had passed away that time. But then he said, however, a few minutes later, he was called again and told that the singer was hospitalized but stable. And so on this one, according to Courtney Love, so take it with a grain of salt, but I would tend to, if I agreed with her on anything, I would kind of tend to agree with her on this. She said that incident in particular was Cobain's first self-harm attempt, in her opinion. So he was released from hospital after 5 days. He returned to Seattle. So then again, on March 18th of 1994, Courtney called the Seattle police, informing them that Cobain had these self-harm intentions. He had locked himself in a room with a firearm. Police did arrive. They confiscated several firearms and a bottle of pills from Cobain, who insisted that he did not have these ideas, but he had just locked himself in the room just because. So Courtney Love arranged an intervention regarding Cobain's substance use on March 25th of 1994. 10 people are involved, including musician friends, record company executives, close friends, people like that. So it said during this intervention that Cobain reacted with anger, insulting, and heaping scorn on the participants. He locked himself in the upstairs bedroom. But by the end of the day, he did agree to undergo a detox program, and he did enter a residential facility in Los Angeles for a few days on March 30th, 1994. The same day that he left for Los Angeles, Cobain asked his friend Addilyn to buy a shotgun for him, saying it was for self-protection. And this was, they say, the weapon that was used in his death. Let's see. Get down to when he actually died. So I'm just trying to establish for people, he did have a history. On the evening of April 1st, 1994, Kurt escaped the facility, this detox facility. He flew back to Seattle. It says on the flight, he sat sat near Duff McKagan of Guns N' Roses. And it said, despite Cobain's animosity toward Guns N' Roses, he said Cobain seemed happy to see Duff. McKagan later said that he knew from, quote, all of his instincts that something was wrong. And most of Cobain's friends and family were unaware of his whereabouts. So then on April 8th, so this was April 6th. So then on April 8th was when Kurt's body was discovered at his Lake Washington Boulevard home by an electrician who had arrived to install a security system. So this note was found addressed to Cobain's childhood imaginary friend, Bada, which stated that Cobain had not, quote, felt the excitement of listening to as well as creating music along with really writing for too many years now, end quote. And it said that he had been there, I think, for about 3 days. Yeah, so it said that the coroner's report estimated that he did pass away on April 5th, and then he was discovered on April 8th at the age of 27. So he's a member of the 27 Club. So that was just a little bit of background just to show that he did have a history of mental health issues, alleged self-harm attempts, some either maybe unintentional or intentional alleged ODs. So let's get to so now we have a former Seattle captain. Let me get into your comments right quick first. So now it's been brought up again because apparently this captain in the Seattle Police Department and some forensic person say that they have got their hands on some parts of the autopsy that were not publicly released, and some pictures that convince them that it was not self-harm, that it was homicide, which, I mean, possible. Anything's possible, but like I said, I kind of really, I've read some stuff that made me go, maybe, but because one of the big things was that, and I think that middle picture there is like a photocopy of the note, and it said that the bottom part was written in different handwriting. A lot of people say that it was Courtney Love's handwriting, and that the top part was written in Kurt's handwriting, and the bottom part was written in somebody else's handwriting, making it that the top part was actually song lyrics that Kurt was writing, and that the bottom part was written by somebody else to make it look like a self-harm note, and that he was, that it was actually a homicide made to look like self-harm. Anyway, and then the very right side of this slide is just some things that were found at the scene and when they found him. Let me get back down to your comments for a minute. Okay, so Josh said, so I'd ask about Somerton man. So Josh said, Somerton man found unalived, propped up on a wall on Somerton Beach in 1948. He had a message sewn into his jacket and some weird items in his pockets. Man, you're going to make me go down some more rabbit holes. See, you and Chris the other night got me, you were talking about and Chris did PM me on Facebook Messenger. Y'all were talking about the Honolulu Strangler. So I'm gonna have to go down that rabbit hole. We may have to do a live stream on that, because I was thinking about starting a series of live streams, just talking about different serial offenders, some well known and some not so well known, because we were talking about who was it the other night that came up? I think it was one of the Missing Person Monday, Larry Hall. Larry's somebody we were talking about, possible. I think it was connected to Honolulu. And then some other ones that we've talked about in other cases that have been suspected that are not as well known as, like, the Bundys and the John Wayne Gacy's. So I was thinking about, maybe once a month doing a live stream featuring or talking about just different serial offenders, just to switch things up a little bit. So you guys let me know what you would, if you y'all would be interested in anything like that. And because I'm here for you guys, for whatever you guys want to talk about or find interesting and or informative. Josh says there are lots of conspiracies surrounding Somerton Man. I'm telling you, I can get into some conspiracies. Bar says she remembers that case now. Mustang said heartbreaking. Hey, Patriotism, good to see you. Welcome, welcome. Oh goodness, my screen just freaked out on me. Miss Paula's still here. Everybody's still here. As far as says, I was going to say the same thing. I have clinical depression, which includes unaliving ideation. It is not that hard to believe someone has a tortured soul. Absolutely. I mean, and like I said, I've always been a big Nirvana fan. I've read a lot about just Nirvana in general, Kurt Cobain in particular. So I knew his history of the depression and the, just, yeah, and the tortured soul, that's the perfect words. Those exact two words are the most used to describe Kurt Cobain. Is just a tortured soul, just very sad. So yeah, and apparently, or did have a history, I believe two of his uncles died by self-harm. So, and then he's had his history of depression and all the ADHD and the substance use and just things of that nature. And like I said, just my opinion, I don't think relationship with Courtney Love helped the situation a whole lot. Like I said, that's just my opinion. No offense to Courtney or whatever, or to any Courtney Love fans, but I don't know. I think that was like a toxic, just my opinion, once again, a toxic relationship didn't help the situation. And it could have gone both ways, not just, Courtney torturing Kurt. It could have been mutual, but whatever. So I don't know. It's just very, very sad, but but I just wanted to read that background just to give for the people that, like I said, that, there's no way that it was self-harm. It had to be homicide, just to show, yes, he did have a history of alleged attempts and all this other things going on. Yeah, Miss Paula agrees with me. She says she's not a huge fan of Courtney either. No, I never have been. Obviously I don't know her personally, but just her public, the way she's portrayed herself in the public, it's just, I've never not been a fan. And like I said, in my opinion, I think her and Kurt's relationship was just probably very toxic and just not good for either one of them, and definitely not good for Frances Bean, for their daughter. Definitely not good for her. Let's see. Let me see. Yeah, Black Knight says he had a tortured soul. Absolutely. I mean, yeah, you could just listen. Anybody who listens to their music, even if you don't listen to Nirvana, just you can just Google Nirvana song lyrics. He was the primary songwriter. Just read the lyrics to any Nirvana song, and you will. I mean, yeah, just very there. There was some stuff going on. He had some stuff going on, most definitely. I just feel so bad for I mean, he was such a had such talent with the songwriting and the singing and the musicianship, and it's just just sad when it's sad when anybody passes away, but anybody, it doesn't have to be a celebrity, anybody with just so much talent and so much an inspiration to so many people, that and something like that happens. It's very sad. Get caught up, and then I will get to the article about this Seattle detective and this forensic woman that claim that they have figured it out. See, yeah, Far says, I would be interested in not so well known SKers. See, that's what I was thinking, because we, everybody, we talk a lot, or don't talk a lot, but most of us know, we've studied and read up on, the Bundys and the John Wayne Gacy's and all the ones that are in the Green River, and Richard Ramirez, all the ones that got all the spotlight. But there are so many out there, like, like Far said, lesser known, that we don't hear of unless their name comes up in a case that we're talking about for a missing persons case, because I'm always coming across so-and-so was suspected, SKer is a suspect in this one. I'm like, well, I've never heard of this person. So then I have to go down the rabbit hole and look at them. So I thought it would be interesting to kind of get to know, or not get to know, but get some information about some of these lesser known. Absolutely. Hey, Miss Avery, good to see you. Welcome in. It's always good to have you here. Yep, I think you hit it on the nail on the head. Miss Farr says, talking about Kurt and Courtney, says, I think it was a toxic relationship, also built on substance use and codependency. Exactly. I agree with you 100%. Mustang does also. Really? Miss Avery says, my friend Jason Jensen has been working on Kurt's case. Do tell. Is there anything you can tell? I mean, like I said, anything is possible, because I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to think of my things to make a case for on the side of that it was a homicide. The note, possibly, but I think the note supposedly being written in two different handwritings has basically been debunked. Now I do have questions about, because in the autopsy, I have read that it said that there was so much substance in his bloodstream, even 3 days later when they found him, that it would have been near impossible for him to have done it himself. So I kind of wonder about that. But then I also question, because I've never done any of that kind of substances, so I don't know if you were to take like a exorbitant amount of substances, like a, what do they call it, like a hot shot or a speedball, does it take effect immediately, or would you have time to do what you want to do before it really kicked in? If y'all get what I'm saying. So I do have questions about that. And it is kind of, I mean, it's not unheard of, but it is kind of unusual for somebody to do that to themselves with a shotgun. Usually it's like a handgun. But what, you know, once again, it's not unheard of. It can be done. So I don't know. So Miss Avery says, according to her friend, he is 100% positive it's a homicide. He said, she says, Jason's Facebook is public and he has a lot of articles on it. I will have to look it up. So what was his name? Jason Jensen? I will definitely have to look at it. Like I said, anything's possible, but I don't know. I would have to, like I said, I've gone down many, many rabbit holes with this case, going one way or the, you know, thinking, maybe it was a homicide, and then, well, maybe it's, you know, it was self-harm. You know, it's just one of those confounding, confusing. So Miss Avery says H does hit fast. See, that's what I was wondering. I mean, it's like I said, according to from what I've read or what's been printed about the autopsy report, is that there was a large amount. And also you would have to think of these harder drugs or substances. Sorry, I'm not supposed to use the D word, such as the H and the harder stuff. How much, what they call it, half-life it has. How long does it take to get out of the system? So, I mean, it could have been, he could have done that amount of substance way before he allegedly, either somebody took him out or he took himself out. So it would be interesting to know what the half-life of those particular substances are, how long it would take to get out of the system or to start fading from your system. Yeah, this is true. Farr says, I would question that his intolerance was probably, his tolerance was probably pretty high. Yes. She says, my sister had a $1,000 a day habit. She would still be able to do it. Yeah. Yeah, you have an excellent point. Because if he what did I say? He started using the Mary Jane at what, like 8 or 9, or maybe 12. Started drinking at 8 or 9, and then progressed from that age, from 8 or 9, 8, 9, 10, 12 years old, up until he passed away. Just progressed more and more. So yeah, I agree that the tolerance level was probably pretty high. Okay, so I should search on Facebook, Jason Jensen, PI. Excellent. Miss Paula says, she says, anything is possible. I would not be surprised. Yeah. See, and that's the going theory. That would be my theory if I, on the side of homicide, would be that the wifey had something to do with it. Maybe not herself, but like Avery said, Jason thinks Courtney hired somebody. That would be my guess, and that is pretty much, from what I've read down the rabbit holes, the most prevalent theory is that the wifey hired somebody. Now, for what reason, I don't know. Money, toxicity of the relationship, I don't know. Telling you, with her, anything is possible. Anything is possible. All right, so this article, it's from loudwire.com, which is a music website. I read it frequently in my to get some music news and music information. And it is from, let me get rid of all the ads out of the way. When is it from? February 23rd. It was published, so just a couple of days ago. So it says, a former Seattle police captain believes that Kurt Cobain was the victim of a homicide and thinks that the case should be reopened. Just a few weeks ago, the Seattle police responded to a new report from an unofficial group of forensic scientists who conducted their own investigation and determined that the Nirvana frontman's death was a homicide, but the department stated that they would not be reopening the case. So now the department's former captain, Neil Lowe, who retired in 2018, has come forward and shared his thoughts about the case. So just a trigger warning. Things may be triggering in this article. Nothing too graphic, but just the nature of it. So what did Neil Lowe say about Kurt Cobain's case? So Lowe worked for the Seattle Police Department for 50 years, according to Daily Mail. So Cobain was found deceased in his greenhouse on April 8th, 1994, due to an apparent GSW wound. Although Lowe did not work on the investigation then, he was asked by his chief to audit the case in 2005. So Lowe told the Daily Mail, quote, "I just am not buying that Kurt did that to himself," end quote. And he alleges that he believes the initial investigation was botched and staged to look like self-harm. So the retired captain claimed that there were abnormalities in the blood evidence and inconsistencies between the autopsy report and the police reports. So yeah, now if there are big, now there's always going to be, in my opinion, just from what I read and tried to learn, little inconsistencies between autopsy reports and police reports. But now if it's big, huge, glaring, in your face inconsistencies, then I would say, yeah, you might want to open it up and take another look at it. So he said that there were inconsistencies between the autopsy report and the police report, such as missing notes. Now, missing notes, and conflicting details about what happened prior to Cobain's death. So I don't know. I would need to know more about what these conflicting details are. It might make a difference. It might not, in my opinion. So Lowe argued, quote, "One thing about report writing is the human error factor, misheard, misunderstood, transposed thoughts, and forgotten details," end quote. He went on to say, quote, they were led astray. I might have fallen for it too, but now I think it's a homicide, and I do think the case should be reopened. I've read the case, and I can tell you what the evidence says because that's what I did for a living, and it does not say self-harm, end quote. So I don't know. That's what he's saying. So what did Lowe find during his 2005 audit of the Cobain case? So apparently Lowe read the entire file and had access to all of the evidence collected at the scene when he conducted the audit in 2005. While audits are meant to ensure all policies were followed correctly and to maintain the integrity of the evidence and prevent errors in future cases, they are not done to change the ruling of the circumstances. So the former captain believes that the team that investigated Cobain's death were so confident that it was self-harm that they did not even try to treat it as a homicide. So Vanette Tishy, who's a spokesperson on behalf of the Seattle PD, said in a recorded interview in Cobain's driveway after his body was discovered, she said, quote, "It was obvious this man is deceased from a shotgun wound to the head. Now there was a suicide note left inside the house," end quote. So, okay, we have that. So Lowe told the Daily Mail that based on the photographs from the scene, he felt that Cobain's hands were unusually clean and that the blood spatter pattern was not consistent with that of a shotgun wound that close to the head. And I know I'm probably going to get, hopefully this video won't get taken down, but I'm trying not to. So yeah, I mean, definitely a shotgun it's going to do a lot more damage than, say a handgun. So you would definitely be able to, be able to tell the difference. So Lowe goes on to say, quote, all the pellets were accounted for, but the impact would have been so forceful that it would have produced a significant spray, not just a little, a large spray, end quote. So yeah, I agree with him on that. Furthermore, Lowe suggested that the amount of H that was found in Cobain's system, which was about 3 times that of a lethal dose. See, that's why I question. That's the big thing I have is the amount. So yeah, 3 times that of a lethal dose would have made it difficult for him to operate a firearm on his own. To me, that's the biggest thing that I question. So Lowe wrote a book titled Crazy Love about the Cobain case that was published in 2024. So what does the Seattle PD say about Cobain's death? So the Seattle Police Department have stood firm in their findings. They told Daily Mail recently, after reviewing the news report by independent investigators, they say, quote, Kurt Cobain died by self-harm in 1994. This continues to be the position held by the Seattle Police Department, end quote. So that is what Captain Lowe has to say. And then I think it was maybe from News Nation, because when Dave talked about this last week or the week before, I think it was it Jesse Weber, whatever his name is, that does the little things on News Nation. They were also interviewing, they interviewed this Lowe, Captain Lowe, and a woman. There was some kind of forensic investigator or wannabe forensic investigator or something, but I can't remember what her name was. And it didn't mention it in this article. But yeah, so to me, in my opinion, the biggest thing is if he had, they said 3 times a lethal amount to be able to do it to himself. That's to me, that's the biggest thing that I would question about it being self-harm or homicide. But she would think, and he mentioned the blood, the amount of the red substance. I know if I say blood a lot, YouTube will ding me, but like I said, you're definitely going to be able to tell the difference between if it was done with a shotgun or a handgun. So why would they not, if in his, I think he was kind of hinting at the fact that there was not as much blood, or the splatter. I know splatter and spatter are 2 different things. The pattern was much different in his opinion that if it was done with a shotgun. So why would they not have noted that in the original report and said, hey, something's wrong here? It doesn't, a different type of weapon would leave a different type of effect. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not the professional anything, but I do try to learn from people like Mr. Steve and other who are professionals about things. Let me make sure. Thank you, Mustang, put in Stolen Spirits MMIWG YouTube channel. Please go check them out. They are fantastic. I think I went back too far. Let's see. It always comes back to money. So Avery said she, talking about the wifey, wanted the rights to all his royalty income. See, I could believe that. I could definitely get behind that theory. As like I said, she did have her own band, but I mean, and I didn't really listen to, I can't even remember what was the name of it. What was the name of her band? I can't even think of it right now. I didn't like it. I didn't. But yeah, Nirvana, I mean, he would definitely, if he played his cards right, had a lot of royalties from Nirvana, from music, the Nirvana catalog. Yep, that's a good point. Black Knight said, why hire someone? She would just have to wait until his OD and just not save him. See, that is an excellent point. Excellent point. Because she did back in the day, like I did, I went back and read the history, that she did a call back like years before. She would call 911 when he would OD, except for that one time when she just gave him the naloxone to resuscitate him. But yeah, they might have been separated by then. Like Avery said, I believe they were separated, but I'm not 100 positive on that. Yeah, I can't remember when they separated. Yes, I believe that was it. I think the name of her band was Hole. I believe you're correct, Mustang. Like I said, I didn't enjoy their music. Yeah, I think you're correct. So I don't know. It's just Kurt Cobain is going to be one of those ones that just people are going to keep. But I mean, I'm always open to hearing new theories. The homicide theories. I'm definitely open to it. I have an open mind for hearing different opinions and theories. Yeah, I must agree. She says, I did not like them. I didn't either. Something about her voice just grated on my nerves. Ugh. Yeah, so I'm sure this is not going to be the end of it seems like every few years something will come up about Kurt, and a whole new thing will, a whole new cycle of theories will start. Avery says, where is Courtney now? What is she up to these days? That is a good question. Hold on. Let me see. She hasn't, as far as I've seen, of course, I don't go searching out information about her, but as far as I know, she hasn't been in the eye or in the public too much lately. She is 61 years old now. Good Lord. Actually, I think she's looking better at 61 than she did when she was younger. Maybe she's eased up a little bit on the substances there. Let's see. 5 days ago, we have an article. Hold on. Let me see if it'll let me screen share. Hold on. So apparently Courtney Love drives off after crash as Kurt Cobain theories swirl. Hold on. Let me might be a little laggy, but that's all right. Let me take that down for a minute. Share screen. All right, so, make sure it came up. All right, so, oh goodness, let me get all the ads out of the way. Hold on. So Courtney Love drives off after crash as Kurt Cobain theories swirl. So this was posted the 20th, so 5 days ago. And this is from theblast.com. And so this is what she's looking like these days. I know, like I said, she's maybe looking better now than she was back, because she looked rough. I'm not trying to be mean or ugly, but she looked rough back in the day. But I think it had to do with mostly probably with all the substances that they were doing. All right, so let's see what this is about. So Courtney Love is back in the spotlight after being involved in a minor accident in Los Angeles, and the timing could not be more intense. So the small crash happened just as new questions began circulating about Kurt Cobain's 1994 death. So while no one appeared seriously hurt, the moment quickly drew attention online. For Love, it's another headline added to the decades of public scrutiny tied to her late husband. So there's another picture of her these days. So Courtney Love was seen leaving a nail salon in Los Angeles when the incident happened. She got into the passenger seat of a friend's black sports car. As a car pulled out of the parking lot, it suddenly stopped. and a bicyclist ran into the front of the vehicle. So the cyclist flipped upright, landed on his feet. That was very agile of him. Thank God he wasn't hurt. I'm not trying to be flippant. Thank God he didn't get hurt. But he landed on his feet after he was flipped, after he ran into the car, or after they ran into him. So instead of reacting with anger, he appeared calm, speaking to someone filming nearby. He admitted, quote, "It was probably my fault. I hit the car," end quote. So maybe he did hit the car. So he said that he felt all right. He was just a bit shocked. And he added jokingly, "I'm just worried about my bits." Oh, goodness, his bits. So when told that Courtney Love was inside the car, the cyclist playfully pretended to faint before smiling and saying, quote, "Much better. As long as their car is okay, I'm not injured," end quote. So the car left the scene shortly after. The cyclist rode away, although he briefly did show signs of discomfort. So there's another picture of her. So the accident happened at the same time that a private investigative team began re-examining Kurt Cobain's death. Cobain, the lead singer of Nirvana, passed away in April of 1994 at age 27. At the time, officials ruled his death as self-harm. So recently, independent experts reviewed old evidence from the case. One crime scene specialist questioned certain physical details, suggesting they may not fully match the official ruling. So the team theorized that foul play could have been involved, but despite that, police have not changed their stance. So once again, we read it earlier, a spokesperson for the Seattle Police Department said, quote, "Kurt Cobain died by self-harm in 1994, and added, this continues to be the position held by the Seattle PD," end quote. So for Courtney Love, this renewed discussion has reportedly been painful. Speaking to the Daily Mail, a source described the situation by saying, quote, "Now that there is another theory about how Cobain died, it feels like her own personal Groundhog Day," end quote. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess maybe in some way I can have some sympathy for Courtney Love. But to me, my sympathy will go to their daughter, Frances Bean, and I don't even know how old. She's an adult now, that Frances is. So it goes on to say, since Cobain's death, Love has faced heavy criticism and conspiracy theories. Some people have accused her of being involved in his death, a claim that she has always denied. According to someone close to her, quote, "Over the years and decades since Kurt's death, she has heard every story about his death, how it was her fault, just one misery after another," end quote. So in a 2024 interview with the Evening Standard, the singer spoke openly about how she had been labeled over the years. She said, quote, "People used to say that I was so difficult. They said I was disagreeable." She says, "Yes, I am completely disagreeable, and I'm never going to apologize for that," end quote. Well, at least she's honest about it or agrees with it. So Love also addressed the backlash that followed Cobain's passing, saying, quote, "Then Kurt died and the hatred towards me reached a completely new level. I did not plan for that," end quote. So Courtney Love has never hidden her complicated feelings about Cobain's death. In a past interview with Vanity Fair, she expressed deep anger about what had happened. She said, quote, "If Cobain came back right now, I would have to kill him for what he did to us." I'm assuming she's meaning she and their daughter. She said, "I would effing kill him. I'd F him up, and then I would take him out. He tried to take himself out 3 times. He OD'd at least 5 times," end quote. So that we talked about that earlier. So her comments reflect both grief and frustration. Cobain struggled with depression and substance use for years. And in the weeks before his death, he had been hospitalized after an OD. So yeah, we talked all about that. But yeah, so Love has been living in London since 2019. She has spoken about being sober, so good for her about being sober, absolutely. She is also the focus of a documentary called Anti-Heroin, which looks at her relationship with the musician, her addiction struggles, and the intense media attention that she has faced. In the film, she talks about falling in love during the early 1990s. She said, quote, when you find somebody you really get along with and can be yourself with, it's easy, end quote. I don't know. From what I read, always read, of course, it's, take it with a grain of salt because it's media, but I'd always read they had a pretty volatile, both ways, pretty volatile relationship. So she added, quote, we knew we were in love. We knew we wanted to have a baby right away. But she also explained the thing that got in the way was his need for total oblivion, end quote. I'm assuming she means the use of substances. I don't know. I think it was both of them. I think they were, unfortunately, both had obvious big addictions, and just, I don't know. I don't think she should be putting all the blame or most of the blame on him. I think it was 50-50 in my opinion. So as debates about Kurt Cobain's death resurface and everyday events like this week's accident, if I can read, events like this week's accident grab headlines, Love remains a figure people continue to watch closely, whether she wants that attention or not. So that is what she has been up to, apparently. So it said she been living in London since 2019. Kudos, good for her. She says she's been sober, so good for her for that. Sincerely, I mean that. And I need to look, see how old Frances is. Why is it? Hold on. So their daughter, Frances Bean, is 33 years old. Beautiful. She kind of looks, oh, you can see her there. It did come up. That is Frances Bean. I can see Kurt and Courtney in her. Most definitely. I don't know if she is, let's see what Wikipedia says about her. She's an American visual artist and model. She's the only child of Nirvana frontman Kurt Cobain and Hole frontwoman Courtney Love. She controls the publicity rights to her father's name and image. So Frances has control. Interesting. All right. Let me get down the else comments again. I would have to agree. Miss Avery said, I would rather have my leg hair plucked one by one than to ever listen to her music. I have to agree. Hold on, let me stop sharing. So it slows everything down here. I agree. Well, there it is. Okay. Yeah, I'm sincerely glad that she is sober. I wonder what kind of relationship, if any, that she has with the Frances. That would be interesting to know. But I find it interesting also that Frances Bean, which I think is a good thing, has all the control of Kurt's name and image rights. But I wonder who has control of the music catalog, because that's where the big money is. I mean, his name and image, I'm sure there's a lot of money in that too, but whoever has the rights to the music, Nirvana's music catalog, that's a lot of money in that too. Yes, Frances Bean is very beautiful. Like I said, I can see both Kurt and Courtney in Frances. Might have to do some research on who has the musical rights to the rights to the music catalog. for Nirvana's music. Do some research into what other people like. Earlier, when I was reading the history, I was talking about Dave Grohl, who started out as the drummer in Nirvana and then went on to, he was the lead singer, or still he is the lead singer of Foo Fighters. What some of Kurt's close friends, or that knew him, somebody besides Courtney that knew him very well, had to say if they have said anything publicly about what they think about his death. Would be interesting. I'll have to research that. All right. So next we have our cold case that I wanted to, a solved cold case that I wanted to share some information on, that it popped up in my news feed. Let me find it. And this is the case of Sarah Geer. And this article is from abcnews.com. Cold case, homicide of teen solved 44 years, so over 40 years later, using DNA from a cigarette. Excuse me. So this article is from February 19th. So a man has been convicted, and the bigger picture there is the backside of whoever, James Oliver Eunuch is the man who was arrested and convicted. So a man has been convicted in the 1982 essay and homicide of a young girl in Cloverdale, California, after investigators were able to use a cigarette to link him to the crime. So, I mean, little thing, which cigarettes are not that uncommon to get DNA from to link to a crime. But what did they use? Some of it was a pizza crust in the Rex Heuermann, how they got Rex Heuermann. So James Oliver Eunuch, 64, was convicted of the homicide of 13-year-old Sarah Geer with a special circumstance related to SA on Friday. He will be sentenced to life without the possibility of parole, according to the Sonoma County District Attorney's Office. So Sonoma County District Attorney Carla Rodriguez said in a statement, quote, this guilty verdict is a testament to everyone who never gave up searching for Sarah's offender. This is the coldest case ever presented to a Sonoma County jury. While 44 years is too long to wait, justice has finally been served both to Sarah's loved ones as well as her community, end quote. Imagine 44 years. So some background on her disappearance and homicide. So Sarah left a friend's residence on Sunday, May 23rd of 1982 to walk downtown. At some point during her walk, she was accosted by Eunuch near an alley, according to prosecutors. So just trigger warning a little bit for this. So Sarah was forcibly dragged down the alley to a secluded area adjacent to an apartment building and behind a fence, where she was SA'd and strangled using her own shorts, according to prosecutors. Her body was found the next morning by a fireman walking home after his shift, according to prosecutors. But the homicide was investigated by the Cloverdale Police Department, but the investigation was limited by the forensic science of the day, according to the DA's office said in a statement. In 2003, a criminalist with the California Department of Justice was able to develop a DNA profile using a sperm collected from Sarah's underwear, but that DNA did not match anyone in law enforcement databases. And then in 2021, the Cloverdale Police Department hired private investigator Kevin Klein to help with the investigation and enlisted the FBI to help identify a matching source of the DNA profile constructed in 2003, according to the DA's office. The DA's office said, quote, the FBI, with its access to familial genealogical database, concluded that the source of the DNA evidence collected from Sarah belonged to one of 4 brothers, including James Eunuch. So the FBI then conducted surveillance, and they were able to collect a discarded cigarette that Eunuch had been smoking. DNA analysis confirmed that the discarded cigarette matched the DNA profile that they were searching for and matched DNA collected on numerous articles of clothing that Sarah had been wearing at the time of her death. So Unick was arrested in his home in July of 2024. At the time of his arrest, he denied knowing Sarah and said that he had no recollection of what happened on May 23rd, 1982. So Unick testified in his own defense during the trial. So according to the DA's office, they said, quote, during his testimony, Unick explained that the 13-year-old Sarah Geer propositioned him while he had been playing a video game at the Cloverdale arcade. So he claimed that they had consensual relations on a hillside near the Russian River, implying that Sarah must have been assaulted and her life taken later that evening by a phantom man who failed to leave behind any DNA evidence, end quote. So this was a statement from the DA's office. Oh, he's a POS. Anyway, so the offender, not the DA. So the jury deliberated for just 2 hours before returning a guilty verdict, according to prosecutors. The DA's office said, quote, the jury rejected Unick's fictitious account, and after more than 4 decades, it finally held him accountable for his crimes, end quote. Yeah, so that's typical. Unfortunately, we hear that from a lot of offenders. Even though, so Sarah was just 13 years old, and we've heard, or we've had talked about cases where 7, 8, 9-year-old little ones, the offender, they came on to me. She came on to me. No. It's like Miss Z says from Child Junkies United, a minor cannot consent to anything. So it just makes my stomach turn whenever they say that. Anyway, so I wanted to have at least one good story in here. A solved cold case, 44 years. It has been solved. Yeah, Mustang says it always good to hear when cold cases are finally solved. You are correct. Ooh, been on here. 2.5 hours. That's not bad. Okay, I think I got one more. So we have a little bit of so we were talking about the American Mafia earlier. So I'd had Roy Frisch. I came across probably when I was researching cases for Missing Person Monday at some point. The disappearance and probable homicide of Roy Frisch. And let me get that up, just the basic information. And I had it stored, and I just read what the Charlie Project had, and I'm like, it involves, allegedly involves the Mafia. And then I found an article that I thought was very interesting. So this case is from 1934. So just a little bit of information from the Charlie Project. So Roy J. Frisch went missing on March 22nd, 1934 from Reno, Nevada. He was last seen, he left his home in the 200 block of Court Street at around 7:45 p.m. He walked to the Majestic Theater where he saw a movie. After the movie, a friend saw Roy at the corner of Sierra and Court Streets. He never arrived home, and he was never seen or heard from again. So at the time of his disappearance, he did live with his mother and 2 sisters. He worked for the Riverside Bank of Reno as a cashier. So he was supposed to testify against William Graham and James McKay in an upcoming mail fraud case. Graham and McKay were noted in the area for their involvement in organized crime. And in January of 1934, Roy had testified against 4 other suspects thought to be involved in the fraud case. But then he mysteriously disappeared before he could testify against Graham and McKay. Surprise, surprise. So in the article, we'll get to who is a possible suspect in his disappearance and presumed homicide. Let me get the article up, and then we'll get out of here for the night. Let me get a drink right quick before I start reading again. Yeah, Far said 92 years. I know, 19, what did I say, 1934, 1932, 1934. All right, so this article is from cbsnews.com. I actually had, I think, another article that I put on the slide, but I found a different article I wanted to use. Actually, a few articles came up about, newer articles came up about this case. No, wait, I got the wrong one. Hold on, I got the wrong story. No, I did use it. This is from sfgate.com. Sorry, I still had it on the Australian case that we were talking about earlier. So this is from sfgate.com. As always, all the links to all the online sources I use are in the description box. So feel free to go back, read them at your leisure, share them, whatever you want to do with them. And it is from July of 2024. So the headline, police still have not given up on Nevada's greatest unsolved mystery. Hold on, it's making me sign in to keep reading or something. Hold on 1 second. I hate it when it does that. Okay. So on January 12th, 1934, the Nevada State Journal ran 2 sentences about a Reno man's trip to the East Coast. So the 2 sentences, oh, come on. Sorry, it's reloading on me. So the 2 sentences were Roy J. Frisch, Deputy Bank Superintendent in charge of the Riverside Bank, left yesterday for New York. He will be gone for about 10 days. Okay. So that trip would change the lives of the Frisch family and lead to a mystery that persists to this day, one that Reno police are still actively investigating after what Farr said, 92 years. Yeah, Mustang said that's not a cold case, it's an iceberg case. Yeah. But it's still, as of, when did I say this article was from? 2020, or hold on, let me go back. Everything's running slow again. This article is from 2020, so a couple years ago, year and a half ago. But it's still actively being investigated as of a year and a half ago. So one that Reno police are still actively investigating, they confirmed to SF Gate last week. So Frisch's 46 years on Earth were marked by sober responsibility. He has served as a Reno City Council member. He had fought in World War I. And most recently, he had worked as a cashier at Riverside Bank. He lived at home with his mother and sisters. He never smoked. He never drank alcohol. And he rarely deviated from his daily routine. So on the evening of March 22nd, 1934, Roy's sister was hosting a bridge game at their home at 247 Court Street. So Roy was not a fan of card games, so he decided to walk to the movie theater. He told his sister that he would be home early. Then, as the Nevada State Journal would put it the next day, Roy Frisch, quote, stepped into oblivion. So in other words, he just vanished into thin air. Although we know that can't happen. So when the bridge party wrapped up at sorry, ads keep popping up in front of it. So when the bridge party wrapped up at around 2 a.m., Roy was not back. So his family, stop it. I don't want to go to Expedia. Dadgummit. Oh my God, it's driving me nuts. Hold on, I have to get back to where I was at. So when the bridge party wrapped up at around 2 a.m., Roy wasn't back, so his family left the porch light on for him. So in the morning, it became clear that Roy had never returned. His bed was made the day before, was undisturbed. So alarmed, his family alerted the police. A man who was missing for less than a day in the 1930s would normally prompt much police attention or police reaction. But in this case, 120 armed Nevada guardsmen were dispatched to search for Roy. So we know why. It's because he was going to testify against these alleged mafia people. I'm assuming that's the reason that the 120 guardsmen were deployed. So soon the nation would know why. Roy was the government's star witness in a case against two gangsters. So Reno in the 1930s was a hotbed of crime. Unscrupulous figures ran the city and its famed gambling scene, while some of the history's most notorious mobsters sheltered there when the heat got too hot in Chicago or New York. Among the city's leaders was George Wingfield. He was apparently a mining magnate, an investor, and a gambler who was also Roy's boss at Riverside Bank. So hiring the principled, reliable Frisch was quite the miscalculation on Wingfield's part. So as money flowed in and out of the vault, Roy realized the bank counted two New York gangsters among its clients. Ever the model citizen, Roy was keen to cooperate with the authorities. His earlier trip to New York had been to help the investigation, and he was due back in a Manhattan courtroom in a little over a week to testify at the men's trial. So FBI agents were sent to Reno, praying that the mob had not just taken their witness for the proverbial ride. They retraced Roy's steps from Court Street up Virginia and past the sheriff's office. There was no blood on the sidewalk, no sign of any disturbance or struggle. A neighbor told them that they had seen a, quote, small man driving a large car near the Frisch home that evening, and that detail would take on more significance as the investigation unfolded. So searchers fanned out across the region. They combed the Truckee River and Lake Tahoe for clues, but Roy had just vanished, as they say, vanished into thin air. So a break in the case would not come for another 10 months, but when it did, they say it was a hell of a tale. So it began with the death of Lester Gillis, better known to the world as Babyface Nelson. So in November, FBI agents took out the 25-year-old bank robber in Illinois, but his brief reign of terror still had legal ramifications. By January of 1935, over a dozen people were headed to trial on suspicion of helping Nelson avoid capture while he was alive. So federal agents had been tracing Nelson's movements during that time, and they had learned some interesting tidbits. It says, for one, Nelson virtually commuted between Chicago, Reno, and Marin County, as reported by the Reno Gazette-Journal. So in Marin, he served as the muscle for rum runners, smuggling booze to the people of California, and it was there that he met San Francisco outlaw John Paul Chase. So according to the FBI, Nelson and Chase arrived in Reno on March 20th, 1934. Two evenings later, the same night that Roy disappeared, they left town, coincidentally. So law enforcement discovered the Buick that they had been driving partially destroyed by fire. And it should be noted, they say that Babyface Nelson was just only about 5'4" tall, which is about my height. I'm 5'3", very short. So that's what it said about this witness, said that they saw a little person driving a big car. So unlike his pals, Babyface and John Dillinger, Chase was apprehended alive and sent to Alcatraz. In July of 1935, FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover announced that Chase had confessed to his role in Roy's death. According to Hoover, Babyface Nelson caught up with Roy on his walk to the movies, bashed him with the butt of his gun, shoved him into the car. So then, according to Chase, Nelson GSW'd Roy in the head, and then Nelson and Chase drove to an abandoned mine about 150 miles from Reno, where they allegedly, he said, threw Roy's body into a mine shaft. So although one part of the case now seems solved, another remained, the mystery of where exactly was Roy's body. So from the beginning, the two leading theories were that he was either dumped in Lake Tahoe or in the many derelict mines that dot the state. It says, according to experts, there may be as many as 200,000 mine shafts. Can you imagine how many bodies could be in those mine shafts as a result of the mafia, allegedly. So newspaper archives show a trail of dashed hopes. For decades, anytime a body was found in a mine, everyone wondered if Roy Frisch had finally been found. So in 1997, the Reno Gazette-Journal reported that Nevada's greatest unsolved mystery was back in the news amid rumors of another possible burial site, George Wingfield's mansion. So I think Wingfield was his boss at the bank, which was right by Roy's family home. So in the years after Roy's disappearance, bankruptcy and poverty befell the once powerful man. During the Depression, Wingfield's banks failed, and his grand mansion near the park that now bears his name fell into disrepair. People would come by and throw trash on the property, according to a neighbor. A new lead, which police did not share, pointed to the mansion owned in 1997 by a Reno doctor. It was devastating news for Roy's living family members. Teresa Frisch, who was the wife of Roy's nephew, told the Gazette-Journal, quote, "It would have driven the family crazy if they thought that Roy was buried there, just right close to their home." She says they could see that yard every day. So the homeowner, however, felt the police's case was less than compelling and did not want to allow them onto the property. To be fair, it did seem unlikely that Reno's most famous missing man would end up buried in the yard of its richest resident, even though Teresa Frisch agreed. So yeah, it would not make sense that they would, if the mafia is good at one thing, it's getting rid of bodies. So in 2001, the Wingfield mansion burned to the ground. It's been empty. It's been an empty lot for decades, but recently, Kempton broke ground on an enormous hotel project. So I guess Kempton is some kind of hotel company. It says something about that property kept nagging at police, who haven't given up on finding Roy even nearly 100 years later. Yeah, 92 years. So in May, Reno police did search the lot, perhaps hoping to get a last look in case a high rise someday looms over Court Street. But a missing persons investigator confirmed, it says, quote, "We did not locate anything of evidentiary value at the time. There are no new leads on the case," end quote. So for the Frisch family, it means more waiting, but the patience and hope have never dimmed. At 247 Court Street, Frisch's mother kept the porch light on day and night until the day that she passed away. And then after that, Roy's sister Louise continued the tradition. Teresa Frisch said, quote, "I can remember that for a long time. She had a note next to the porch light switch that said, 'Do not touch,'" end quote. So Louise passed away. So Louise was the mother. Passed away. So Louise was either the sister or the mother. She passed away in 1994 at the age of 100. But for as long as the family lived in the home, Roy's memory persisted. So Teresa said it's on the porch light. She says it's on a timer now, but we keep the porch light on still to this day. That is I just found it interesting. I don't know. Like I said, I've always been interested in the American Mafia, and like I said, I'd had just the the Charlie Project information about Roy saved in my browser, and then I found this article, and with all the mafia alleged mafia ties, I just thought it was interesting. Probably the oldest cold case that we've covered or that we've talked about. 92 years. Can you imagine? 92 years. And up until, like I said, that article was from 2024. At least up until a couple of years ago, it was still being openly investigated. It's amazing. All right, let me get to your comments, and then we will get get out of here. Yeah, dadgummit, why is my... Yep, Mustang, I said earlier, that's not a cold case, that's an iceberg case. Hey, Boston Christian. Well, if I'll come out, there it is. Welcome, welcome, my dear. Good to see you. I think that was all I had. Yep. So that's just crazy. I mean, we always say, to me, I allude to the missing persons cases that no matter what we cover, we cover so many cold cases that no matter how cold the case gets or how many years that the person is missing, that's why you never give up hope. You just keep going and keep going and keep going. Thank you very much, Mustang. I appreciate everybody that was here, that hung in. Anybody have anything else you want to talk about? Any last thoughts, comments, theories, anything? So today's Wednesday, right? So I'll be back live again, of course, Monday, foreseeing, barring any unforeseen, anything that may come up. Hopefully, nothing will. And I have to see what city and what state we're doing next. We did Hawaii this week. So whatever is next in the alphabet, we'll be doing. I'll of course get everything together and researched and scheduled. And then next Friday, not this Friday, next Friday, I'll probably do a live stream, be able to do a live stream Friday. We may start we talked about earlier, our SK serial offender, starting maybe once a month, doing a live stream about us, lesser known serial offenders. So I'll research that and see what I can do. We might do that a week from Friday, next Friday. Thank you very much once again to everybody that was here. Miss Farr still here. Says thank you, Southern Gal. Mods, yes, mods. Thank you, mods. Thank you, chat. Thank you, lurkers. Thank you, replay crew. I love all you guys. Have a good. Trying to multitask here. Trying to hold on. Have a good rest of your week. We made it to hump day. Be safe, be kind, and I will see you guys. I'll try to get some, I don't know how many, I haven't been very good this week at uploading any pre-recorded videos. I'll try to do better this coming week and the rest of this week to get some pre-recorded videos uploaded. So be on the lookout for them. Make sure, if you aren't already, make sure you're subscribed. Have your notification bell set to all, so you will be notified when I do go live or upload a new video. So like I said, have a good rest of your week. Be safe, be kind. I love you guys, and I will see you guys Monday.